I'm here in Farmington Hills.
Yes, if you could state your location. Thank you very much. Whitebird?
I'm here in Novi, Michigan.
Markham?
I'm here in Novi, Michigan too.
Okay. Cavell?
Here in Ferndale.
Fizz?
Here, Auburn Hills, Michigan.
And Miller.
Here in Farmington.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. So we will stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have we need a move in a second for approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from February 10th, 2021.
Moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Markham. Do we have any discussion or questions about it? Hearing none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Now we have the approval of the agenda. We need a move in a second.
I'll move the agenda.
Looked like it was moved by Commissioner Charles, seconded by Commissioner Wiper. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, hearing none. We'll do a voice vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Now at this time, we will open it up to public comment. We can't hear you, but good morning. It looks like there's no public comment. All right. Thank you. So now we have the communications. We have so the communications, we need a move on and seconded on the Oakland County Airport Committee minutes dated November 9th, 2020 for receive and file.
I'll move to receive and file.
Moved by Commissioner Wiper, second by Commissioner Markham. Do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Now we have the consent agenda, Board of Commissioners Tri-Party Road Improvement Program Fiscal Year 2021 appropriation, Charter Township of Bloomfield, resurfacing of Cranbrook Road from 14 Mile to Maple Road, project number 55201. We need a move in second. Moved by Commissioner Spiz, second by Commissioner Charles. Any discussion on that? We will need a roll call, please.
Yes.
Whitebird?
Yes.
Markham?
Yes.
Cavell?
Yes.
Fizz?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Now we have our regular agenda item, which are regular agenda item. First item is information technology, health department, and Oakland County data security overview for informational. Mr. Mike Tim is on the line here. Good morning.
Do we need a motion, or did I miss that already?
For your presentation, we don't need a motion.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's all right. Thank you.
TJ, are you? Yes. All right. I see TJ on the camera as well. I wanted to start. Thank you, commissioners. This, I understand, was a request that came out of your last meeting, so we wanted to provide a briefing. And I wanted to start with introducing TJ Fields, and I'll let him at least say hi and wave a little bit here, and he can help answer questions so that you can see his face and recognize him as well. He is our Chief Information Security Officer, responsible for information security strategy and the resources to implement that strategy here in information technology. TJ, if you could just, like I said, wave and say hi, and folks could recognize you.
Yep. So thanks, Mike. I guess I'll keep this fairly short. So I joined the county a little over a year ago, and as got pointed out in the prior meeting that me and Mike just came from, you guys pay me to be paranoid. So you got the right guy on the job.
All right. I wanted to also take this opportunity to thank those of you commissioners present, as well as your colleagues on the board and the board staff for the excellent track record over the last few months. We have implemented another round and new vendor of security training, and the board and board staff has done an excellent job in taking that training and being very compliant in that regard. And the reason I wanted to start with that is in most of the big headline breaches that we all see and hear about in the news, there are a couple of common denominators in most of these. And one of those common denominators is users give up their credentials. They give up their user ID and password. And this, quite often happens from phishing or some other means. And the other common denominator is poor patching, poor updates. So it's really on the IT staff. And I will tell you that patching is a ton of work. If you are into lean manufacturing at all, as I once was, patching is absolutely one of those things that would almost always qualify as non-value added. It very rarely improves the performance. It'd be like having to take your car in for an oil change on a monthly basis, and it's out of service for a day or more. It is very difficult for us to do. It's very expensive for us to do. And it requires a lot of extra infrastructure and a lot of people to do testing to make sure that we don't break things when we apply the patches. And that's why it's difficult for all IT organizations. And it's why it's one of the places where vulnerabilities get accessed. I will also tell you that it is one of our highest priorities at Oakland County, and it has been, for years, long before I got here. So the reason that I wanted to bring that up is user training is identified as one of the best strategies against phishing. And it's also required for most cyber insurance. So those are important things, and it is a place and a way where each of us, and you individually, but each of us collectively can help from a cybersecurity standpoint. One last point of introduction, there are dozens of governmental consortium and vendor organizations and resources that we interface with on a regular basis to stay abreast of the latest intelligence, the latest strategies, the latest tools and tactics. Some of them are federal government, some of them are state, some of them are consortiums of subject matter experts. And we participate regularly with many of them, both at the national, the state, and some of our vendor relations that we have as well. So this is not something that we are just doing on our own, right? And one of the areas and organizations that we get quite a bit of information from is called MSISAC. It's a multi-state information sharing, and it's a combination of FBI and local law enforcement, as well as some key security vendors that are involved in that. There's also an EI-ISAC, which we've worked with quite a bit coming up to over the last year and a half. EI is for the election infrastructure. So we worked very closely with that consortium, as well as obviously with Joe Roselle and the election staff here at Oakland County related to elections specifically. So I just wanted to mention that is a big part of the work that TJ and his team do, is working with those organizations, both receiving as well as providing information. The one slide that I'd like to present today, the security at Oakland County, this is really a model that we've adapted from NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and it provides a framework for everything we do in the cybersecurity realm. So some of these areas involve tools and technology. Some are very much in tandem with security professionals. They require, some human intelligence, even in the advent of artificial intelligence to help support some of the analysis that we do. There's still people on the other end, some of our security team. And again, many of these strategies involve things that all of us are part of, that we all execute, anyone using technology. I'd also like to point out, related to this slide, so we start with, some of the planning activities, what's the scope, and this includes some of the areas around training and education as well. And then also some of our process. How do we request user IDs and how do we authenticate systems? So those kinds of things fall into the beginnings of the administrative. Protective is really around, how do we, it's like the locks on your windows or your doors. How do we secure things? Detective would be like the alarm system. If you had an alarm system and it was going to detect that there was a breach, how do we do that? And you can imagine that with the types of systems we have, the detection measures are very extensive and they're multiple. There's no single tool that we use to do all of that. Containment is, when we do recognize, if we do have a breach, and an example of this might be somebody clicks on a link and it downloads some malware onto their workstation. We do have containment measures where we can take that workstation off the county network very, very quickly, really to minimize the impact so that malware doesn't affect, hundreds or thousands of machines, that we have on the county network. So that containment piece is also, a key part of our principles. And then recovery, how do we recover, whether that's recovery of data or the business operations. And again, recovery is bigger than just technology. Recovery includes all of our business continuity and disaster recovery planning. So, the disaster recovery piece is very common, as an IT kind of responsibility and strategy. But business continuity is where really this turns into, how do we continue to run the business if the technology is not available? And frankly, the COVID pandemic has really tested, and I think, as a county, we have done, really very well in maintaining the continuity of business while technology was very, very differently used. Our ability to send almost all of the county workforce to work remotely, that's a business continuity kind of plan. So recovery is also other things, how do we restore data? How do we restore user access and those things? But recovery and business continuity go very, very hand in hand. And again, it's bigger than just an IT responsibility. So I really just wanted to kind of provide that overview of these are some of the strategies and the methods, a little bit of the framework with which we plan and execute information security here at the county. And again, this is based on a national standard, a national model. So this isn't something that we came up with on our own. We're very much in sync with some of the best practices that are recognized in many cases internationally. So I also wanted to point out, because in IT we manage a large portfolio of systems and data that is in the cloud. We do this with third-party vendors, and you may have also heard of SaaS or software as a service. And one of the standards that we use comes from the American Institute of CPAs, and it's called SOC 2, SOC 2. And SOC 2 is basically an auditing standard that provides us as a customer, provides us an audit report from a trustworthy source that says our vendor, and we can use Microsoft as an example, all of our email is up in the Microsoft cloud. And we are able to leverage the SOC 2 report from Microsoft to ensure that Microsoft has in place appropriate security and controls to protect the county's data. So we do have access to SOC 2 reports as part of our acquisition process. It's part of our RFP process. It's also part of our purchasing process, in addition to other mitigating controls that are part of the procurement process. So, and the reason for that standard is, and you can imagine, if the company that you may work at, they are going to be, rightfully so, very tight with disclosing the kinds of security practices that they have in place. So the SOC 2 report provides kind of that insulation or an audit, an independent audit that says, yes, they have met these requirements. They're following a standard model like the NIST model, and they have appropriate authorization and controls. They understand their inventory. They understand, how to mitigate risk. They understand how to contain and so on. So the SOC 2 report goes into that and provides really the standard for these vendors. And I wanted to bring that up because some of the systems that the health department uses are SaaS systems where that is part of our procurement process. And I guess I kind of want to just close this part of the briefing by saying there is always more to do. The threats that we detect, the threats that we are trying to protect against are constantly evolving. I also need to say we are not invincible, but we are actively working each and every day to implement and improve known best practices. Again, working with law enforcement agencies and the top security vendors, to prevent, to detect, to contain, to recover, and then if necessary, to respond. And like any good organization, we practice all of those things in addition to doing our day-to-day job. So I'd just like to close by saying TJ and I are more than happy to meet with any of you or if there are any other more specific questions. So thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to say
Mr. Charles.
thank you. I apologize. Just want to quickly say thank you for the report. I appreciate the slide. Sometimes you don't want to be too specific, but I, again, recognize your hard work and that this is a moving target and cybersecurity is just growing so quickly. So thank you for this report and I look forward to chatting with you guys in the future.
Great, thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Mr. Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Tim, for coming in front of us. It's good to see the IT group in front of this committee. I do have one question outside of cybersecurity, if you don't mind updating us on where we stand on the implementation of Teams.
Of Teams?
Yeah.
Yes, so Teams is a Microsoft product and the major implementation that folks would see change at the county. You all are using GoToMeeting for your board meetings. And one of the reasons for that is the visual display of all of the participants. GoToMeeting does that very, very well. And the rest of the county, for the most part, uses a Microsoft tool that is built into our Microsoft licenses called Skype. Some of you may recognize Skype was actually not part of Microsoft. They were an independent and they were one of the first to do some of this screen sharing and visual sharing. Microsoft purchased them, built it into the Microsoft suite, and now Microsoft has migrated the Skype product to a new product called Teams. And Teams is going to do all of these meeting functions, sharing screens, sharing desktop content, and it's integrated with the Microsoft Mail suite and the Microsoft SharePoint suite. So we are fully on board with the Microsoft 365 product suite, and Skype goes end of life this summer. So we are actively working on the integration right now of our identity and access management tools. So basically Teams needs to integrate with that. That's in process as we speak, in test, and Teams will be live this summer.
Yeah, I'm on this call.
Great, thank you. One additional question relative to Teams. Are we implementing the full version of Teams and specifically the phone systems? Are we going to be able to use Teams for making phone calls versus using county phones any longer?
So you will, I mean, we can do that today with Skype actually, at least an individual computer to computer connection. I am 99% sure that functionality will exist with Teams as well. But at the same time, we are also implementing separately a new voice over IP phone system, which will also provide some of those same kinds of communication capabilities. And there is integration between our phone system, which is up in the cloud, serviced by CBTS, the old Cincinnati Bell telephone. And they use a Jabber client, and Jabber provides that interface for instance, your voicemail can come into your phone and will show up in your email. That will happen through our phone system, and but it will be integrated in with our Microsoft 365 system. So yes, those capabilities will exist, and we may have the option to do it, the individual to individual phone calls via Teams and or via Jabber and the VoIP client.
Any other questions? I like to say, I know I've been here just a little over 2 years. I know Commissioner Spiz and Commissioner Wiper's been here longer, but working with Mike Tammy's definitely top-notch professional. He'll answer all your questions. We have a really good relationship with him. I can't say enough about him. So I appreciate you giving this presentation.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, and look forward to meeting with you again. I know we generally liaise with the Finance Committee, but I'm happy to come back here anytime as well to meet with the Economic Development and Infrastructure.
I know I appreciate that. I know definitely Commissioner Spiz appreciate that. We miss you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks, everyone.
Now we have our next agenda item is the Economic Development approval of 2020 NOHAS interlocal agreement. It's moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Wiper. Any discussion? We have, I see the screens are popping around, so whoever wants to go first.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioner.
Morning.
Brett Razigan. I'm the manager of the Planning and Local Business Development Division. And with me is Whitney Callio. Whitney is a principal planner on staff, and Whitney manages all aspects of NOHAS. And also here this morning is Ingrid Tai, our Director of Economic Development. Thank you for getting us on the agenda today. Just a little bit of background. NOHAS was established in 2003. And since that time has collected 7.4 million pounds of household hazardous waste. And that's very important to Oakland County. It keeps that waste from entering the waste stream or being illegally dumped along our roads or parks or vacant land. A couple of highlights from last year, as with everything COVID impacted NOHAS as well. We had 4 collections planned, but had to cancel 2 of them in the early spring and early summer. We did hold 2 collections in September and October. We had 2,300 residents participate and collected about 350,000 pounds of household waste at those two events. Probably the most significant thing that we did is we instituted an online registration system where people could register in advance, and then they showed up with a QR code, and we scanned that code, and it really made the line move a lot faster, and it minimized the person-to-person contact, which is what we were hoping to do because of COVID. And we plan to use that system again this year. Last year, we had 83% of those residents register in advance using the online system, so we have high hopes for that going forward. For this year, we have 15 communities participating, And we're planning 4 events in April, June, July, and September. So we're hoping to get back on track with our typical 4 events in 2021. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about the agreement or NOHAS. Thank you.
Looks like we have Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you for coming in front of us. I truly appreciate this program, and I wish we could expand it even more, and I wish we could get more communities involved. I think it's one of the best programs I've seen out there. And you mentioned 4. Is there have been any more discussion about adding more than 4 dates?
We poll our local communities to see what they think the need is, and we backed off from 5 because Rochester Hills stepped out of the program a couple of years ago. So, and they were a big participant. We get many calls throughout the year from Rochester Hills residents asking about NOHAS, but that's why we reduced to 4. We think 4 is sufficient to cover the demand.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Markham, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Rassigan. Good to see you. My question is, this is just one piece of the county. And I know out where I live, we also have hazardous waste collections that are run by ROSOC.
Yeah.
And can you just give us a quick overview of how we're doing hazardous waste around the county so that we know we're pretty well covered?
Yeah, I don't know if I have the ability to share my screen, but I have a county map that shows that, Commissioner Markham. Is that possible for me to do? Connie, do you know?
Let me see if I can flip that over for you. Let me try.
Would you like me to jump in on this?
Yes.
Okay, so there are a handful of communities that do not offer any programs. Off the top of my head, I would say maybe 6 or 7. In the northern part of the county, we do invite communities that don't have a program or who are operating their own program each year to join NOHAS. So I end up talking to a few of them a year. One of the communities right now is Brandon and Ortonville. And they're on a cycle where they like to participate in the program every 3 years, which I don't think makes their residents that happy, but that's where they're at. But we do reach out to
I will talk to Brandon.
Here.
I will definitely talk to Brandon.
Okay.
See if we can change that.
I believe 2022 would be their 3rd year or their year to come back. So they have good participation when they do belong to the program. So.
Hey, Whitney, can you speak to how we reach out to those each year with the letters and asking interest, and also the blue communities on the map? Is the map?
Sure. So in late summer to early fall, as we're beginning to plan for the next year, we send a letter and an email to each of the communities who either do not currently offer a program or who are the blue communities, which are offering their own independent program, to see if they would like to join NOHAS or learn more about it and pricing. But it also gives us an opportunity, if we don't know what they're offering, that gives us an opportunity to update this map and also just to offer our thoughts. One was we talked to Lyon Township this year, and geographically that is not the best fit for NOHAS, and they used to be involved with ROSOC, I believe, years ago. But the vendor we use also has a facility in Livonia, so that might be a better fit for their residents to go directly to the vendor, because they do accept appointments for drop off directly there.
Thank you. This is a very informative map. Yeah, thanks for this. We've been really happy with ROSOC. They do 2 hazardous waste collections a year. And the last one I went to was in Wixom, not Novi. Excuse me, but I mean, the line was super long. People really appreciate this event. I like the idea of appointments. We didn't make appointments with ROSOC, and maybe that's something they could adopt, because it sounds like it helps you. So thanks very much for this.
Yeah,
Commissioner,
I would just like to clarify that we didn't actually take appointments, so sorry if we misspoke about that. We just had people register ahead of time, so we weren't filling out all of the paper forms and interacting as much. But that was a game changer that we look forward to continuing and hopefully growing throughout the years of NOHAS.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. Any chance that you could send that map over to us?
yes, for sure.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your time. I don't see any other discussion here. If we're seeing none, we'll call the roll, please.
Whitebird,
Yes, receive and file.
Markham,
Yes.
Cavell,
Yes.
Biz,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes. So just to clarify, this was to vote on the approval of the agenda item. And then after that, we'll do a vote to receive and file, do a voice vote on that.
Okay,
So it looks like all the votes are in.
yes, we have 6 yeas, 0 nays on the resolution.
All right, thank you. Passes, motion passes. And then now we'll take we need a move and motion for the receive.
Receive and file.
Moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Charles. We'll do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Green.
Nope.
Thank
Then
you.
we'll go- Thank you.
I don't know if I know how to.
Just at the bottom where it says screen, just close it. You can click on that and it should take it down. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Bye, Connie. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Now we have our next agenda item, which is Facilities Management, Facility Planning and Engineering Sheriff's Office approval of lease agreement for expanding use of training center building. Need somebody to move it. Moved by Commissioner Spiz, seconded by Commissioner Cavell. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Mike, do you want to go first and I'll follow up if there's any questions on the lease, or do you want me to do it?
Sure. Why don't you go ahead first, and then I have Mr. Chair, and commissioners. Also on the line today are Gaya Peer, who is our Chief Financial Officer, who you all know, and Major Wondrek, who you know. He oversees, his half of the department includes the training unit in this facility. So maybe Paul can give you a little background on the proposed lease, and then we can give you more background after he speaks.
Good morning, Commissioner.
It looks like
I'm the property manager for facilities. This is a building that the Sheriff's Office has been using for training for the past year. They're already in the building. They originally signed a 1-year lease, and they liked the building and the location so much that they wanted to take more space, which is in this lease, practically the whole building. And it's again going to be for their training. It's a wonderful building for what they need, and it's the location works for them as well. So they had a 1-year lease. It expired it's expiring this March, and they're asking to lease this building for 3 more years with 2 1-year options, so possibly 5 more years. And the lease is mostly a gross lease. It has the payments are really very good. The lease is going to be, the space is going to be leased for $1.80 a square foot, which is really quite low when you compare other properties. Now, there's nothing else like this out there because this is a old high school, middle school. But if I look at industrial properties or storage or warehouse, those generally lease for $4 to $6 a square foot in that area. So the county is going to lease the building, pay for the gas and the electric utilities. The landlord's going to handle the snow, salt maintenance and interior exterior maintenance of the property. The landlord does have a little area that he's retaining for storage. So there's good interface with this landlord. My understanding is that he's very responsive, and there can be some work that he's going to do once this lease is signed for flooring, some upgrades, some roll-up doors. So it's going to give the sheriff's office a lot of utility, a lot of really good space for what they need going forward. So that's pretty much it on the lease.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, Paul. If I could just add, Paul explained the lease very well. I'm not so sure. We're not happy with the location. I know Paul said that, but it's in the extreme northern part of the county, so it makes it very difficult, quite frankly. It's a good temporary solution for us, as you all know, and Major Wondrich will cover it shortly here, but it's a good temporary location for us as we continue to explore. And as you commissioners know, you allocated $1 million for us to move forward on the training center, dispatch, and EOC, which he is working with Art Holdsworth's people at Joss on right now. The location is a little bit difficult because we're not the only ones that use this facility. It is used by many other departments within the county. So it's a long drive, say from Ferndale or Oak Park up there. But I'll let Major Wondrich take it from here. But if anybody has any questions for Paul, I'll defer to him on the lease itself, and then we'll go a little further into our feelings on this.
Yes. Mr. Chair?
Mr. Charles? Mr. Charles?
Yes. Thank you. So yeah, my question is on the lease portion, and I just wanted to verify that in terms of oversight, I know it may be a four-letter word, but it does say in terms of some improvements. I changed my page here and now I'm looking for it. Yeah, alterations or improvements on page 5 of 11. And it just basically talks about within 6 months, certain things will be done. I was just curious who's responsible for making sure that happens. And then also it looks like there's some periodic checkpoints. Just curious who's responsible for that.
Well, there are deputies that are there every day, and they have a lot of interface with the landlord. So they are the ones that negotiated those requirements, those updates and improvements. So I will get a report from those deputies that are there when those are done, and then we could do a kind of a sign off that the work is done and document that. So that's how that'll be handled.
Any other discussion? Not seeing any. Not seeing none. Thank you. We'll call the roll.
Mr. Chair, I just want to have Major Wondrich maybe give a quick overview of why we are up there right now temporarily and why we had to move. Just so I know that we got a couple new committee members here, just so they've got a history on it.
Right, if I may, good morning. Currently, we're using the building right now to meet all our training needs. We do our in-service training, we do our corrections academy, our FTO training, our CTO training. We do our OAKTAC training, which is an Oakland County training consortium where all the departments in Oakland County go to train. So they have access to the building as well. It's 35,000 square feet. It meets all our needs now for a temporary training center. And if you have any questions, let me know.
It looked like Commissioner Cavell had a question.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So looking at this, it says that the lease term is for 3 years. And what you're asking for is 1 year's worth of money, correct?
No, I believe we're asking for a 3-year lease with 2 1-year extensions.
Okay.
That's correct, Commissioner. And hopefully we're not going to be there 3 years. Hopefully we can get that new training center built and we won't have to spend money on rent.
Right. So I'm still not clear. It looks like rent is $12,000 a month, and you're asking for $180,000. So
Yeah, that's per year.
so you'll have to come back next year to ask for this again based on this funding, right?
So Commissioner, the budget amendment is actually through 2023. So if you look at the budget amendment, we prorated it for 2021. So there's the remainder because it starts at on April 1st. So it's through September of this fiscal year. Then 2022 and 2023 each will have $180,000 in the budget for it. So this goes out through 2023.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Looks like, William, you had a question?
Art holds with that.
Oh, Art, I'm sorry.
Commissioner?
I just see your name out as on the thing. Sorry, my thing's a little blurry. It's right in here.
I just wanted to add to what Mike and the major were saying. One of the reasons that the training had to be moved from the Brown Road facilities up to this high school building is that the property of Brown Road was up for sale. Monday of this week, we had a public sale opening on that property. We received 2 bids. We're going to be bringing the results of that to this committee here at the next round of committee meetings. We did get the asking price, actually a little better than the asking price on the property. So we'll have all the details for you on that. The point being is that the property is going to be sold here very shortly.
Thank you, Art. Any other discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Markham,
Yes.
Lavelle,
Yes.
Biz,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Whitebird,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes,
6 yeas, 0 nays.
motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your support.
Yep, Mr. Chair and committee members, thanks, and the sheriff thanks you, and we're looking forward to continuing a great relationship. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I wanted to wait in between topics to just ask a logistical question for our team. If I have to leave Farmington Hills, do I need to identify each city that I'm commuting through to get home?
I think I think they just want to know where you're at when you first start the meeting. But we could put on record that she's commuting. Are you going back to Southfield?
Yes, sir.
So say if it's for the record, you're commuting back to Southfield.
Yes, by way of Grand River to 8 Mile.
Thank you for being on point on that, because who knows, if it's going to come back and we have to revisit that with the new rules. Thank you. So we have our last agenda item here is Facility Management, Facility Planning, and Engineering Board of Commissioners COVID-19 Configuration Auditorium Project. Need a motion. Moved by Commissioner Charles, seconded by Commissioner Wiper. Sorry, Commissioner Wiper, your all I can see was your thumb. Any discussion? We got Art here, I see on the line.
Yep. Hello, everyone. This is Ed Joss. I'm on as well.
Oh, there you go. There's Ed.
Yeah. So we are with this project preparing for in-person meeting back in the courthouse. These measures, these plexiglass barriers, will help accomplish that in a safe manner. Megan, I see Megan's on the line. We've been talking with her and working with her on this, so I know she's available to answer any questions you may have. But pretty straightforward. Not a real big or expensive project, but it is being funded through the CIP, the Capital Improvement Program, which is why it's before you right now. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any discussion? It looks like Commissioner Spiz and Commissioner Charles next.
Yeah, Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ed, can you confirm, has this stuff already been ordered?
It
Or are we
has,
still in the planning phase?
well, it has not been ordered. We cannot order anything until it has full board approval. And then the work order is put in place so that the money is available for us to spend. So as soon as it has full approval and the work order's been set up, now the money's in our hands and we can place the order.
Okay, I appreciate that answer, and I was hoping that was your answer. Because I'm questioning, do we really need to do this for the auditorium and specifically? You know, I know we're looking to go back hopefully in April, right, for face-to-face, but based on the pure size of that auditorium, do we need to put up separators between each commissioner and then separators up in the dais? And I'm leaning towards the no for that part of it. I can understand maybe more in the conference rooms, but now also with the vaccines being rolled out and everything else being rolled out, do we really need to put these in places for the Board of Commissioners? It's really my only concern. So I'm debating on my position here. I'm probably leaning towards a no vote as of this point.
So I'm not sure that that's a question for me, right?
It's not a question for you, no. It's just more for the board or for the committee.
If you choose to have the meetings in there, the barriers are,
Perhaps the health department should weigh in on that.
what I was going to add is if you do choose to have the meetings in there, the barriers are designed to provide the proper distance and safety.
Understand.
We got Commissioner Charles, then Commissioner Markham.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to, now I'm going to make 2 points. Thank you, Commissioner Spiz. My first point was to say thanks for the mock-ups because it was very helpful to see what the vision was. And then secondly, I'm 100% supportive of this. I just feel like it's going to help people feel a little bit better actually sitting next to folks who they haven't had to sit next to for over a year. So I think it's prudent on our behalf because even with vaccines, it's not, 100% fidelity. And I think it's just going to help get us back to some type of ordinary. So thank you.
Commissioner Markham, then Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have really mixed feelings about going back in person next month, but I will follow whatever it is we're going to end up doing. There are advantages and disadvantages to doing things offline, but it's not only us that are going to be using that auditorium. We have staff, and people will be coming in and out during the meetings, and many of them are not in the groups that are eligible for vaccines yet. So, I hope the president is right and we'll all be able to have a vaccine by the end of May. And I would be a lot more comfortable with us going back at that time. But I do agree with Commissioner Charles that, excuse me, the long-term science isn't there yet. So if we are going to go back, I'm all about caution. I've been stuck in my house for a year on purpose, and I want to retain that safety that we have. So thanks very much.
Commissioner Cabell. Commissioner Cabell, can you hear me?
He froze.
Charlie, you there?
See his finger moving around. Now he's frozen. This kind of goes back to, you won't freeze when you're in person, right? I mean, I know there's people are nervous about it and stuff, but the orders.
I'm going to purposely freeze when we get on site.
So I don't know, Charlie, can you?
I just text Commissioner Cabell to let him know he was frozen.
No, I'm back. It's the internet in South Oakland County is on the fritz today. They sent us an email saying it's busted. So sorry, I'm doing this on my phone. But forgive me for the interruption. Is it okay if I do my thing now?
You can talk. Yep.
Thanks. So I just had a question about where the money's coming from. This it said project work order fund. Could you share if this is an expected expense? Since this is $20,000, is this going to be, or $24,000? Is this going to be a big impact to the project work order fund? Is this not COVID CARES money eligible?
Art, do you want me to answer that? I can.
You want me to take this? I'll start. So this project was not included in the original capital improvement plan, which was put together last spring, almost a year ago. It came up in the last couple of months, but we have a miscellaneous CIP category every year in the CIP for unexpected projects like this. So that's where the money's coming from for this. Now, if additional CARES type money is forthcoming from the federal government, then it is possible, if the board and fiscal services so chooses, to reimburse the project work order fund and hence the capital improvement program for this money.
And
If I may say, Commissioner, we did add a, be it further resolved that in the event this can be qualified under COVID-19 funding eligibility, if we get additional money, that we would bring back a separate resolution to reallocate the funds back to the capital improvement plan.
Oh, thank you. I see that now. I appreciate you pointing that out.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Cavell,
Yes.
Spiz,
No.
Charles,
Yes.
Whitebird,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes,
You have 5 yeas, 1 nay.
motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Now we'll move on to other business. Do we have any other business? Seeing none, we will call the meeting close at 10:25. Thank you, everybody. I hope